What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the channel. Thanks for tuning in. This week we are going to be looking at the 813 Fabrication's medium compressor mount for the Gladiator and why you might want to consider mounting your compressor in the bed as opposed to in the cab or under the hood. So let's check it out. So to start off with the first question, why mount it in the bed in the first place? For me, it came down to two factors, one of preference and one of necessity, more or less. So I knew I didn't want it in the cab. I didn't want that kind of noise going on in there when I was inflating my tires. The other one is a factor of my engine choice. I've got the diesel in the Gladiator, so for me, I don't have the room under the hood to mount pretty much anything, let's be honest here. That's one of the biggest downsides of the diesel, is that whole engine bay is jammed. But, and this was the best solution that I could find. Now, in terms of construction, this is hands down one of the toughest, if not the toughest mount on the market. It is solid 1/8 inch thick aluminum, fully powder coated inside and out, and it will stand up to just about anything you can throw at it. It's easily withstood everything I've thrown at it. It has been in the back of my Gladiator for about 2 years now, and it has held up to snow, dust, that East Texas iron clay dust that gets everywhere, rain, car washes, you name it, the thing still runs like a champ. Now, as far as mounting goes, you will need either the factory trail rail system or, like I have, the Rebel off-road version, and either one will work fine. But you'll bolt it up to here, and I'll do a show the installation later on. But for right now, it mounts to the trail rail with a set of spring nuts and a bolt on the bottom. It can be mounted to either side, or if you want to get more creative, since the back of this thing is flat, you can mount it to like a molly panel. If you have like one of the headache racks for one of your bed racks, you can mount it up there, or just about anywhere else you can think of. I mean, the versatility of this thing really is very well thought out. Jeremy did a great job when he designed this thing. And that also comes down to the sides of it. Now on the side, all of these holes are actually sized for molly. So on top of fitting the standard ARB switch, if you have pouches with air tools or anything you want to keep with your like additional fittings or anything like that, it can mount it to the side of the box here. Also have bulkhead fittings for feeding through hoses or like actual air fittings just straight to the box. Because of the way mine is mounted, using this particular one wouldn't have really been viable. But they do have additional bulkhead fittings on the bottom, as well as actually another hole for a switch. So you could even run the switch down here if you wanted to. Now, the way I've got mine, I've got it set up so I got an additional cutoff valve down here to shut the air off. Now, if I was going to do this system again, I probably wouldn't put that air gauge on there. I never use it. I hook my four-way up and usually just watch the sensors in the truck, or I would put one directly onto the actual air hose. I wouldn't mount one here. The batteries aren't even good in it anymore. But and of course that same series of holes does run along the other side of the mounting panel as well. So you really do have a lot of options. You have a total of 4 of these bulkhead fittings. You can probably see this from that angle, but it is a very snug fit for this thing in here. You will need some kind of 90-degree, very flush fitting air connector to run the hose from the center of this compressor. The way I did it, I actually ran a T-splitter. So I can actually run 2 different air hoses. I've got a male and a female end on mine. It just gives me more versatility. Now when it comes to the install, you're really only going to need a few basic hand tools. So to start off, you're going to need a 4.5 millimeter Allen key and a 5 millimeter Allen key. And then you're going to want a 17 millimeter socket and a 18 millimeter socket for the nut and bolt that goes under the bottom. Also, an extension wouldn't be a bad idea for this bolt down here. So I'm not actually going to unmount this just because without an extra pair of hands, getting the bolt on the bottom here can be kind of a bear. My recommendation, get a riv nut tool, like borrow one, or yeah, you can pick them up pretty cheap. I'm pretty sure Harbor Freight carries them. But pick up one of those and put a riv nut in that hole in the side of the bed. And that it'll make your life a lot easier in the mounting process. This side just has a rubber stopper that bolts up to the actual mount, and it just keeps it from vibrating. Now when it comes to these, you'll want to get these spring nuts, and that is probably going to be the hardest part of getting these in, is getting them to stay in place while you thread this bolt in. But all you're going to do is, once you get the compressor mounted to the back plate, just with the holes that are already on it, you'll put this plate, these screws in, that will mount the actual cover to the base plate, and then get those screws on here, mount this up, thread those in, and once that's done, you just put that one on the bottom. Like I said, an extra pair of hands helps a lot with that. I have done it by myself. It is doable. It's just best way I can think to do it, or that I've done it, is put a wrench, a ratchet with an extension down here, and then brace it up against something. That way, because you're gonna have to go under the bed and reach up in this hollow, or in this void space right here in the bed, and tighten it down with a wrench. So that's about the easiest way I've done it in the past when I installed this. But really, once you get this thing mounted up, it's super simple. It'll take you longer to wire and configure the compressor than it will to actually get this thing on the truck. And like I said, the thing's damn near bulletproof. As you can see on mine, it has gotten some abuse. This thing has not been babied. You can see all the scuffs, scratches. I mean, I've even knocked some of the powder coat off here in the corner. I mean, this thing has not been babied. It has been used, and it still holds up great. All right, guys. So that is the 813 Fabrication medium compressor mount. I will leave a link to this down in the description. Definitely go check them out if you're looking for a solution other than just under the hood or under the seat of your Gladiator for mounting a compressor. I cannot recommend this highly enough. I will say one thing I do wish is that there is maybe a little more of a standoff on the back for kind of getting the wires and harnesses, and just a better way to get them back there. But other than that, but I'm sure someone smarter than me could figure out a way to do that. A little bit cleaner install. This was my first time doing a compressor mount or anything like that, so that could just be my own case of idiocy. But like I said, in terms of the build quality, customer service, Jeremy is second to none. Go check these things out. Like I said, I'll have a link to it. He does not sponsor me. They did not send me this. I just really like the product. Like I said, I've been running this thing for about 2 years now, and it's definitely worth getting. So, until next time, y'all be cool.